Welcome back to First Things First. Chris Canty is on the show with us this morning. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, Jenna. How are you this morning?
I'm great.
Good to hear. Glad you're doing well. Jenna likes to laugh at jokes from 3 days ago, so the audience might be confused. Let me fill them in. Chris Canty said Jenna's always awkward when he introduces her, when she introduces him, and now she has tried to lean into that, but unfortunately a lot of the audience doesn't know that. Now they do. Now they're caught up. Now we can talk some football.
So the dust
Appreciate
has
that,
settled
Nick.
in England. Just days after the Brandin Cooks trade went down, some think it's a tough loss for the Patriots. After all, last year, Cooks had over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Others aren't as convinced. Apparently, Tom Brady thinks that production is easily replaceable. According to reports, Brady was, quote, not sad about the Cooks trade. All right, Chris, will the Pats miss Brandin Cooks, or is he a guy with his production that you could easily replace in New England?
Well, they traded for him for a first-round pick, so they saw some value in the player. They were trying to sign him to a contract extension. And though I hesitate to say a team won't miss a 1,000-yard receiver that gave him 7 touchdowns, the New England Patriots won't miss Brandin Cooks in terms of production. They just won't. They'll find a way. Now, it might look different in terms of how the offense is able to manufacture yards and points, but if you look at what they've done this decade, they've had a top 5 scoring offense every year this decade. So the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, they'll find a way to be able to replace what Brandin Cooks brought to the table. Now, he was one of their most reliable players last year, didn't miss any games, didn't miss any practices, but when you look at some of the pieces that they're going to get back this year, you're going to get Chris Hogan back. Remember, he missed some time with the shoulder injury. Julian Edelman will come back from the ACL. Rob Gronkowski, hopefully healthy. So those elements coming back will make it a little bit easier to mitigate the loss of Brandin Cooks.
Also, I believe in the Super Bowl, we talk about Malcolm Butler not playing in the Super Bowl. If Brandin Cooks don't get knocked out of the game, I believe that New England's going to win that game because they did not have a deep threat. They missed his overall productivity when he left the game. So, yes, over the course of a season, but I know in that Super Bowl, man, when he went out, they had to change things the way they're doing. New England has done this. There are interchangeable parts. All right, but his speed can't be replaced. They have not had a deep threat since Randy Moss. Now, I don't know where the report came that Brady was happy. That's not something typically with Brady that he lets out because he's lost good friends to that team and information didn't come out of the locker room. So I don't know how much credibility I put to the report that Tom Brady was not mad. Yeah, was not sad that losing Brandin, because he's not that type of person. But we have seen it. They've moved on from Wes Welker. They moved on from Randy Moss. They moved on from Wes Welker. Last year, Edelman got hurt. They went on without a beat, without skipping a beat when Gronk was hurt. They replaced Gronk's productivity. So to think that they can't replace Brandin Cooks' productivity, and what I like about New England, stay true to form. Don't sign a guy to a bad contract, and that's what they were able to avoid in trading Brandin Cooks.
Ooh, I'm very surprised by what both you guys are saying here. Well, I'm not going to say you're wrong as much as I want to set the context, though, of everything. They did want to keep Brandin Cooks. They just didn't want to keep him at the money that he believes he should get and probably the money Los Angeles is going to give him. Additionally, they didn't trade Brandin Cooks for nothing. They traded him for a mid-first-round pick. I don't know if they make that trade, even if they can't come to contract terms with him, if they don't lose Nate Solder. I think there was a bit of cauterizing a wound here where it's like, man, we lost our left tackle. There's no left tackle in free agency we can go get. We're sitting at pick 31. We don't know if the left tackle is going to be available there. Let's see how we can go get him.
First of all, I think they lost Brandin Cook before Nate Solder was lost to free agency. They offered him a contract. All right? They cut off negotiation. When that negotiation was cut off, he didn't accept that. Then they knew they were going to get off of him.
Well, but there's a difference between knowing you're going to get off of him and trading him for his deals up. Malcolm Butler, they knew they weren't bringing him back, but they knew they weren't going to give him a contract extension when he rejected their offer last offseason, but they still brought him back for the final year of his deal. That was an option for Brandin Cooks. $8.5 million, go play this season. And you bring up how they've overcome some injuries. That is where I think the loss of Cooks could be the most damaging. They were able to overcome Julian Edelman's knee injury this preseason. One of the reasons they could, they had Brandin Cooks. Your top 2 receiving threats now are Julian Edelman, 32 years old, post-ACL, and Rob Gronkowski, who does have an injury history.
Tom Brady's throwing to him, too. Let's not forget that.
Of course. Listen, and your point about the 10 straight years of a top 5 offense, I'm not discounting that. And I'm not saying the sky is falling in New England. What I am saying is, with the loss of Brandin Cooks, and with my lack of faith in general of rookie wide receivers, particularly this rookie class, the way it's graded, I don't know if they are set up now to overcome an injury the way they were last year. Like, you know what I mean? If Julian Edelman goes down again, if Gronk goes down, like, at some point, the people you're throwing to has to matter, right? Like,
no,
at some point,
it does have to matter.
It hadn't mattered in New England.
It does matter to a degree, but like CC says, they have interchangeable parts. So they're responsible for being able to operate the offense. All of the receivers can play multiple positions, which is a flexibility that most NFL rosters don't have. Brandin Cooks wasn't that guy. He wasn't. He was a deep vertical threat. That's why he led the league in receptions of 20-plus yards downfield, him and DeAndre Hopkins. But when you start looking at how Bill Belichick has been able to piece this thing together over the years, you see Chris Hogan, he was able to be a deep threat in that AFC Championship game 2 years ago against the Steelers. Although he doesn't have the athletic skill set that a Brandin Cooks has, he was able to be productive, and that's based on the scheme that Bill Belichick runs. So in a way, he's going to find opportunities for these guys to push the ball down the field. You just don't know what it's going to look like with the group of guys that they have coming back.
Chris, if you factor in both what Chris and Nick are saying, what do you think the Patriots' bigger plan is with the draft picks they're piling up, with their ability to get rid of Brandin Cooks without seemingly a worry, with them being able to get rid of Nate Solder without a worry? What do you think the bigger plan is that they might do with these draft picks?
Well, Jenna, it's a quarterback-driven league. So the position of quarterback and the positions that directly affect quarterback play have to be prioritized. So when you look at the New England Patriots, who's going to be the successor for Tom Brady? The Patriots in a position to be able to get a guy in the draft. Maybe not one of the top 4 quarterbacks, but one of those guys, Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson, Luke Falk, somebody of that ilk. And then you start talking about the tackles in this draft. Nick, you mentioned them yesterday, Mike McGlinchey, Colton Miller, Connor Williams, somebody like that. And then, of course, pass rusher. Who are they going to have that's going to be able to hit the quarterback consistently when they get one-on-one opportunities in pass rush?
Right.
Those have to be prioritized for New England moving forward.
One thing about Cooks you have to realize, I believe he's limited as a wide receiver. I believe he's a track guy playing football. He has straight line speed. He's not great without the ball. I mean, great running with the ball. He's not great as a reverse guy. So last year they traded for Philip Dorsett. Him and Brandin Cook have a very similar skill set as far as speed. Maybe they're going to put Dorsett, have more of an influence on the offense. But also, I look for Hogan to move back outside as the starter. I look for also Malcolm Mitchell, who was hurt last year, who was had productivity to the 2 previous years. I look for him to move back outside. And I like the fact, man, stay true to form. Don't sign guys to contracts that are going to throw off your roster. There's no way they can sign Nate Solder to a contract that's going to pay more than Tom Brady. There's no way they can sign Cooks to a contract that's going to pay him as much as Tom Brady. So I believe that productivity, especially from the wide receiver, I'm concerned about their offensive line. All right? They always talk about Dante Scarnecchia, the great offensive line coach. You need talent on that offensive line. So that's what I'll keep my eyes on this offseason.
All right, Chris, stick around. Coming up, can the Cowboys knock the Eagles off the top?